Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, tonight I'm going to tell you a legend, a conspiracy that has lasted decades. You're going to get to hear a Kennedy conspiracy theory you've probably never heard before. So, the legend says that in 1961, in fall of 1961, President Kennedy met in private with selected Green Berets, men that he had personally chosen, and he made them take an oath. And the oath was that if the U.S. government ever became tyrannical, and he set out criteria, that they would use their skills to help Americans fight back against a tyrannical government. And that they were to take this oath and pass it on to other Green Berets so it would stay alive and stay within the institutional memory. That's cool. That is a cool story. Kind of heartwarming. Inside the Army's most elite unit, there is a secret organization dedicated to keeping you free from tyranny, to liberate the oppressed. It's kind of cool. Now, is there any evidence to support this theory? Well, October of 1961 is certainly fall of 1961, and President Kennedy did, in fact, travel to Fort Bragg. Fort Bragg happens to be home of the Green Berets. That's public record, part of his travel records. He did, in fact, meet with a list of men that he had personally chosen in private. Nobody knows what was said, though. 2 years later, Kennedy's assassinated, November 22nd. 46 Green Berets depart Fort Bragg and head to D.C. 21 of them serve as Kennedy's honor guard. Now that's weird. No president before or after has had Green Berets as his honor guard. That is bizarre. The other 25, we have no idea what they did. Their orders aren't public. That's pretty common if you're doing something sneaky. You send a unit somewhere, half of them go do something very public. So everybody knows that's really why they're there. The other half is off doing something sneaky. Now, according to the legend, they were with Jackie. That's all it says. Nobody really knows what they were doing. We don't even know if that happened. Now, the honor guard part, there's a little bit of a legend there too. It says that the honor guard stayed with Kennedy's casket after everybody left, and a fellow named Command Sergeant Major Ruddy removed his Green Beret and set it on the casket. Another version of the story says all the other guys followed suit and they put their Green Berets there too. We don't know if that happened. It was just them there, according to legend. But do you know where Command Sergeant Major Ruddy's beret is today? JFK Presidential Library, on display. In fact, it is the only military display, permanent military display, in the entire facility, even though Kennedy himself was in the Navy. It's weird. It is weird, isn't it? Now, you don't hear anything about it. Nothing really surfaces, nothing becomes public for a couple of decades. And then some clown running some racist newsletter leaks word of something called the Special Forces Underground. Man, that sounds spooky, right? DOD thought so too. So they investigated. They sent a team down to investigate, sent a team up to Bragg. And, well, what they found out and what they released, you can't read the report, it's secret. But the blurb they released was they've investigated it, and it's not a racist organization. It's not a racist organization. In order for them to determine whether or not it was racist, it means it exists. It's kind of cool. Now, this guy that ran this newsletter, he was not a Green Beret. Racism and the Green Berets do not mix. Even during segregation, the Green Berets accepted black soldiers with open arms. There are a lot of requirements to become a Green Beret. Skin tone isn't on the sheet. There's no check, no box to check for that. But this guy wasn't a Green Beret, but he taught at JFK. JFK, after Kennedy died, the Green Berets named their training facility after him. So maybe he heard something. It's all kind of cool. Then there is one other weird thing. To this day, a group of active duty Green Berets every year travels to Kennedy's gravesite, and in a brief ceremony, puts a wreath on it. No other president gets that kind of attention. Is it true? Maybe. Maybe it is. Don't know. It's a cool story. It's a cool legend. So why am I telling you all this? One of the criteria allegedly set out by Kennedy was the suspension of habeas corpus, something our current president is considering. It was one of the criteria because the suspension of habeas corpus is the end of the rule of law. That is what it is. There's no other way to put it. I know there's going to be some Trump supporters out there, and they're going to say, well, he's got to do that to deal with the migrants. Really? If what they are doing is illegal, and they are illegals, as he likes to say, why can't he just prosecute them? I'll wait. It's almost like what they're doing isn't illegal. It's almost like that is exactly how you claim asylum, and they are following the law. And, as his supporters like to contend, if they don't have rights because they're not U.S. citizens, why would he need to suspend habeas corpus? It's because they do have rights the second they set foot on American soil. This migrant caravan, like those that have come for the last 15 years, these asylum seekers, this isn't a national emergency. The suspension of habeas corpus is, though. That is a threat to national security. It's a threat to your very way of life. I want you to think back to everything that has happened over the last 50 years. Are you telling me that a group of unarmed refugees is more of a threat to national security than the Soviet Union was during the Cold War? When you actually put this into perspective, it's insane. It's not silly. It's insane. It's crazy. The suspension of habeas corpus is something that it can't be tolerated. And the fact that a sitting president refuses to remove that from the table of options, it's ludicrous. It is ludicrous. At this point, you can support your country or you can support your president. Those are your options. The suspension of habeas corpus is an affront to everything that this country has ever stood for. The rule of law will be erased completely. It's not hyperbole. There may be a lot of people out there that don't really know what habeas corpus means. You need to look it up. You need to look it up. You need to realize exactly what it means for that to be gone. You can watch this country turn into another 2-bit dictatorship, or you can kill this party politics that you're playing. This is dangerous. Anyway, it's just a legend. Maybe. It's just a story. It's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.